Hi all, Ms. Wagner here, and I wanted to show you hopefully a helpful example of me creating a nonfiction summary of an article that we read in class. So I have my checklist up on the left that we created as a class, and on the right is where I'm going to type my summary. Now, on the bottom of my screen on the left, we also already brainstormed the main idea of this article. Two companies are working to develop the best way to use 3D printing to build homes. We also already chunked the article. We looked at the 5 sections that the article was split into and kind of labeled them so we would understand what and why the author used those different sections. So let's get started in writing the summary. My checklist tells me that I need to include the title, author, and source of where my article was published. Now, when I look at the article, I don't actually see where it was published, or I don't see who the exact author was. Instead, I only have the publishing company, PBS NewsHour. So I will just have to use that. So let's get started. According to the article, houses rolling off a 3D printer? Yes, and some are ready to be tested. By PBS NewsHour and adapted by Newsela staff. So I included my full title of the article. Notice I didn't capitalize all the important words like I would for a title of a book. Instead, because it's an article, I only capitalized the first letters of the sentence in the title. And I have my author and source. So according to this article, well, what is it about? What is my main idea? That's my next checklist. We already thought of this. According to the article, 2 companies are working together to develop the best way to use 3D printing to build homes for those experiencing homelessness. Okay. Now I have my main idea down. I'm done with the first 4 checkboxes. Now I go to the 4th. Explain how the article is organized or chunked. How and why did the author organize it this way? Well, we already started thinking about this. The author goes over the background and history of the progress, their current progress and concerns, and their hopes for the future. Overall, that's kind of a past, present, and future approach to organization. So that's what I will use on the right side. So let's see. How can I write this? The author divides the article into 5 main sections that address past, present, and future details of the project. Now that I've identified how the author has generally organized the article, now I actually need to explain each chunk in more depth. Now, I'm going to be more specific than when we brainstormed before, because if I just said there's background information about a new project, an unknowing reader wouldn't understand the text. So I need to be more specific. So let's see, in the first section, this happens in March. In March, an example of the 3D printed house created by a collaboration of 2 companies was on display in Texas. This model will be printed and used in over 110 homes in the next year. I would say that covers the background information for the project. Perhaps I could be a little more specific and add the names of the 2 companies, but I think I'll do that in the next section when I go over the history of the project. Next, I'll use the transition word. Notice that later on my checklist, I need to identify them. So I'm going to use a transition word to indicate that I'm moving on to the next section of the article, the history of the 2 companies and how they began the project. Originally, the 2 companies, and this is where I explain who they are, News Story and Icon, joined forces when there was a need to address the urgent issue of homelessness abroad. Overall, that explains who the companies are and why they began working together. That covers the history of how they began. Now I need to use another transition to move into the third chunk of the article. Let's see. Now, the Vulcan 3D printer is built to handle power outages and even has its own concrete mix that allows the structures to dry quickly. Okay, that makes sense because in that section of the article, it talked about problems that they'd faced, power outages and concrete mix, and also the solutions that they'd come up with. Okay, let's use another transition. Despite these solutions, one architecture professor is concerned about the stability and durability of 3D printed homes. That covers the concerns, but let's get into the solutions and future improvements. Well, I should probably include the solutions here, right? Despite these solutions, one architecture professor is concerned about the stability and durability of 3D printed homes, which is something that the two companies will plan for in the future. All right. Moving forward, digital fabrication. Ooh, wow, spelling. Digital fabrication, trial and error, customization, and shared technology may allow for a safe, cost-effective solution to homelessness. Okay, I covered all 5 chunks of the article and explained what they were about. But let's go over my checklist. Title: no author because there wasn't one specific for the article, but I do have the source. Main idea I included, and I explained how it's organized into generally the 5 sections and the general past, present, and future. Now I've explained each chunk. Is my summary in the same order as the text? Yes, I would say it is, so I'm good on that checkbox. What else? Transition words. Do I use transition words and do I use academic ones? Well, I say things like originally, now, despite these solutions, moving forward. I would say that those are more academic than just simply saying first, second, then, next. So I think I'm good to go there. Now, was my summary detailed, but not too detailed? I would say yes. If someone hadn't read this article, they now know specific things, such as the names of the companies and what they're doing and the specific problems they've encountered in the past. But it's not like I included direct quotes. Everything is in my own words, and I covered the main areas that the article talks about. I also showed the complexity of the article, so I think I'm pretty good there. Overall, now I would need to go back and check my no excuse writing conventions, for example, having an indent, and also things like spelling, capitalization, commas, and punctuation, that sort of thing. Other than that, I think I'm done.